Welcome to God Crimes Pod with Danny and Maya.
I'm Danny.
And I am Maya.
Woohoo!
Welcome, folks. Howdy to the Texasode.
I should replace my woohoo with a yeehaw.
Yeehaw! We are a rootin', tootin', and hollering over here. Danny, tell them why it's the Texasode.
All right, gang. So it is the Texasode because you're never going to guess. We're in Texas.
We're in Texas.
That's right. We got to come on down to Houston. I am down here on a work trip, and it's incidentally my first work trip really my first work trip that I've ever done before.
It's pretty sweet, and I got to come along, which is, I'm just so grateful. What a cool experience. I love getting to see different cultures, different places, and, you know, as anyone living in the United States knows, which is probably all of our listeners right now, but maybe someday we'll have some international listeners. Our country is so massive that it could be many, many countries in one. It's very different down here.
That's right. Okay, so they say everything's bigger in Texas, and also there are a lot of people with cowboy hats. And I will say, we went walking through downtown Houston. I did not see a single cowboy hat in this heavily dense metropolitan area. A little bit disappointed in Texas, so that's a strike against them.
No, just full send cowboys walking around downtown, unfortunately.
Very surprising, very surprising. But a little item in the good column of things. At the hotel restaurant, I got to eat a waffle, and it was shaped like the beautiful state of Texas, and I was very excited about that.
It was actually really adorable. I think I'm sold on waffle-shaped just things in general. Have you seen the Death Star waffle maker?
Yes, I think this is going to be a lifelong goal of ours to eat various shaped waffles.
I think it is too. Also, they had butter balls, little balls of butter, which is just, it's so extra. It's unnecessary, but I just love it. It's the little things, right?
The little butter balls, they would fit in the grids of the waffles. Totally awesome.
So one of the things that we've been doing while we're down here, Danny has been working very, very hard. But when not working, we have been checking out some museums. So I got to go, while poor Danny was working his little butt off, I got to go to the Houston Museum of Fine Arts. And it was really, really special. They had contemporary art and ancient art, and just so cool to see all the things that humans have made throughout time that they're proud of. I kept thinking like, wow, someone made this and was like, look guys, look what I made. And we were all like, that's cool. And now we're all still looking at it. Like, that's basically what art is, just throughout time. And especially when you see the ones from like thousands of years ago, you're like, just the fact that this still exists makes it special and worth looking at. I think it's so cool.
It is so cool that like human effort and creativity continues to exist in these marvelous pieces of art, and they entertain and inspire people for generations. Totally cool. And
so Danny and I were talking about museums in general, and we actually got to go to the Met, which is the big art museum in New York, 2 years ago. And it was my first time on the East Coast. It was not Danny's first time. And he was sharing with me his experience going to this amazing center of culture sorry, Danny, but as someone with very little culture, because you were not allowed to have any. Your culture was inside those windowless church walls.
Is being extremely sheltered a culture?
Kind of.
Maybe?
I think there was some cult-esque culture happening.
Cult-esque culture. I think that's it.
And you're letting us in on some of those secrets of that culture.
That's right. This is the episode about my little experience going with a Jehovah's Witness tour company inside of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And it is a weird one. I
have not heard this whole story. Some of this is going to be fresh for me. I am so excited from just the outside regular person perspective, having just went to an art museum. What is it like going to this place that has all of this history from thousands and thousands of years ago but the Jehovah's Witnesses have their own stories to tell, right?
That's exactly right. So there's a company called Oasis Tours, and they run out of New York, New Jersey, wherever it may be. I think they actually have like little offices at various tourist spots around the world. And here's what they do. They take the beautiful tapestry of world history and the history of society and cultures, and they just throw all that away.
We don't need that.
We don't need that. And then they take the artifacts. They take a group of about 20 people or so on a walking tour of these astounding museums, and they just kind of spin a fairy tale and give a lot of inaccurate and misleading information.
Wow.
Yeah, so I remember just a handful of things. So we get to the Met, and they say, okay, you cannot record us saying the things that we are saying. Absolutely not. Totally unacceptable. No recordings. And like, I was, stupid 16-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, however old I was. And I had a little video camera, little camcorder. And I was just like having it for taking family videos and stuff. And I just forgot that they had said this or whatever, just a teenager, not paying attention. And they stopped the tour, and the lady that was walking backwards explaining stuff saw me with a camcorder. She stopped walking, made everyone else stop walking, and then looked at me and was like, you have to put that away. And I was like, oh, God. Like, I thought you're supposed to be like other God people, just like us, like very nice and stuff. But they were really adamant about it. So I'm like, okay, camcorder goes away. And then... Oh.
Why? Like, just because of how untrustworthy and weird and messed up what they are saying is? They don't want proof of that?
Honestly, they have the awareness that they're just spouting nonsense, right? And so they did not, they were very wise in like not letting anybody digitally record that. So that way maybe it doesn't get out, or maybe it doesn't make them look bad.
Fascinating. It would be even harder to do that today with everyone that has cell phones, right? Like back when you were a teen.
Right, exactly, yeah. So I would be really curious, like if anyone sneaks like a recording of an Oasis Tours.
It's one of those things where like, do we want to watch it? We would watch it for science and for art, but not for personal pleasure, because that sounds like a difficult thing to get through, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. But yeah, so a couple of things that jumped out at me at the time was a Nebuchadnezzar exhibit. I believe it was the Assyrians section in the Met. You go up the stairs, and I think you go towards the left, and it's like a really cool display of like the Assyrians. And I remember that there was this big stone that had basically a disc with wings on it. And their whole thing was, one of the things that the tour guide repeated over and over again is, there's nothing new under the sun in all of creation, or something like that. And he's like, okay, you see this disc with the wings to the side of it? This is a very bad, like, basically demonic symbol. You know, you can think about it that way. And if you look at car companies, such as the Mini Cooper, the mini car, it has a circle with wings off to the side of it. So, coincidence? I think not.
Danny, is this one of the reasons you've always wanted a Mini Cooper?
You know what? I remember hearing that, and I was like, damn it, I actually really like Mini Coopers. This sucks for me. I didn't know they were the devil.
If only they weren't demon cars. Fueled by demon fumes.
That's right. And there's so many, like, there's a billion examples of, like, companies with logos that have, like, a relatively circular disc in the middle and then wings off to the side.
Yeah, because it's just a basic human symbol. Like, we use symbols are symbols. They're usually circles and squares and triangles, and we use them in lots of different ways.
Yeah, but they took that circle with the wings off to the side, and we walked around the museum, and he was like, not only did the Assyrians do that, but the Egyptians did something like that. Similar with the god of Ra, the sun god.
Yeah.
There's something else also relatively disc-shaped with sort of kind of like wings coming off to the side. The devil!
I've never heard of that symbol being the devil. That's a very convenient symbol to make the devil because it's everywhere. It's just a circle. Like, I guess a circle plus the wings, but come on.
Yeah, it was really strange just to like have this person come up with this thing and then just walk around the museum being like, look, another circle with wings off of it. The devil!
I'm going to say that, like, in an art museum, the devil's got to be everywhere. I mean, there's so many things that you could say, the devil's in that, the devil's in that. Like, everywhere.
Yeah. So another little devil example. I remember, I believe in the Met, there is a little green statue, and I seem to recall being told that like it was one of the oldest things in the museum, right? And this little statue has like these kind of curly shoes, kind of like an elf does, or some depictions of, I want to say, leprechauns. And I remember the tour guide being like, you see this? Devilish shoes. Look at this devilish little statue. Again, there's nothing new under the sun in all of creation.
The shoes were what they had a problem with?
They had a problem with shoes, yeah.
Specifically the shoes?
Yeah, the shoes were pointed out. Like, because they were curly. It was one of the, like, most noticeable things on this small green statue.
I'm just, having been to the Met, which is one of the largest art museums in the world, I'm just imagining paying that much attention to these shoes on one tiny little statue. Just that alone to me is very comical with how many incredible pieces of art there are to just walk around and point out, like, look at this tiny detail on this tiny thing. Also the devil.
Also the devil. That's right.
He's everywhere, folks.
And then another thing that we checked out on the tour, we went through the Egyptian section, right? There's a display in the Egyptian section of some Egyptian sheets, like very, very old Egyptian linens. And they mentioned some scripture in the Bible that had something to do with Egyptian linens. I'm pretty sure that they brought attention to a depiction of two women. Like, I believe that there is a depiction of two women that were lovers or something in that section.
Yeah.
And instead of, like, holding that up as an example of, wow, like, you know, there have been gay people since time immemorial, they mentioned how, like, you see, again, there's nothing new in creation under the sun, or whatever the phrase is. They're like, gay people were back here. Isn't that terrible? Because of the devil. The devil makes people gay today, and he makes them gay in the past.
I see. Instead of just, there have always been homosexual people for all time because that's human biology. It's been the devil.
It's been the devil.
Always. By the way, not a sponsor, Egyptian cotton sheets are delightful. I bet they're even nicer today than they were in real Egypt.
Oh, that's got to be a certainty.
Right? Old school linen. So we're talking about ancient Egypt, which is one of, like, the oldest cultures that we still have artifacts from. But I'm sitting here going, hold on, wait a second. Like, how old do the Jehovah's Witnesses think the earth is? And do they actually believe that any of these things are real ancient artifacts? Or do they have their own story for all of that?
All right. So the starting point for the Jehovah's Witnesses is the earth is very old. We don't know exactly how old. And God's creative days are a length of time that we're not really sure about. However, what they do know for sure, you know, huge air quotes, is that people have been on Earth for some 6,000 years and change.
Gotcha.
Yes. And what they also know for sure is that Noah's flood was about 4,000 years ago, if my memory serves.
And each God creation day is approximately 1,000 years.
Correct. But they're really squirrely when it comes to, like, the age of the earth. So what I mean by that is when they say, like, God's days are about 1,000 years, that's true. But then his, like, creative days, when he was, like, making the universe, which may or may not have included making the earth, like, way back when he was off in other galaxies creating stuff, like, we just don't know, which is kind of their attempt to say, like, the door's kind of open to, like, you know, geology and, like, scientist estimates for the age of the earth and the age of rocks and mountain ranges and things like that. But they are very squirrely about it, and they're very non-committal. And another thing is that the Jehovah's Witnesses think carbon dating is BS.
Okay.
Yeah, like, long story short, before the flood of Noah's Ark that time, there was basically an ocean of water overhead. There was like a layer of water up in the atmosphere that they called the canopy that was just like, imagine just, a layer of atmosphere, maybe, 20 miles thick or something, full of water.
What?
And the sunlight would go through this like lens, and it aged things differently on the Earth, which in their mind is what explains is how they kind of hand wave away carbon dating.
Who the hell came up with this water atmosphere concept?
There's a scripture about like a canopy in the Earth, and how like during Noah's Ark, like water came from the sky, but then also from the ground. And they think, okay, well, there must have been a lot of water, like not just clouds, but there must have been like a layer of water in the sky to explain the global flood of Noah's day. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. Is this making any sense to you so far?
I mean, as much sense as something that doesn't make sense can make.
Perfect. Okay, you're right on track.
So, I mean, I'm using my imagination just like they are when they talk about this stuff. Okay, yeah. So again, like, it's funny to me, we have to have some explanation for why God did things. God can't just like magically do things. Like, I've never thought about the geological principles of how he made the earth flood. I just figured God did it, He snapped his fingers and everything flooded. Like, they didn't have to have an explanation for how it was, like, geographically possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the witnesses will sometimes try to think stuff through, and then other times just like, oh, God did it. Who knows? Yeah.
Got it. And it's funny how even when they try to think things through, it still ends up being like, okay, that still doesn't work. Gave it your best shot, guys. You're definitely failing science class.
But as it relates to artifacts in the museum, basically any time that we would see, a little sign on an exhibit indicating the age of the piece, witnesses are just kind of able to just hand wave that away because It doesn't correspond to the canon. It doesn't correspond to the story that we're told. And so like that's kind of how we would walk through the museum, just listening to whatever this person has to say, and whatever they have to say is the God's truth. And then all of the scientists and paleontologists and people who study humans and the anthropologists, that's the word I was searching for. All those people don't know what they're talking about.
They're all liars and conspiracy theorists.
Yes, they are a part of Satan's system, which of course makes everything a conspiracy. Absolutely everything is a conspiracy. But yeah, so the long and the short of it is, anytime that we see a little sign that indicates the age of a piece, we're not supposed to give that any credence, because carbon dating is bunk, and like scientists and archaeologists, paleontologists, and anthropologists are all in the devil's pocket. They're all working for Big Devil, if you will.
Big Devil.
That's right.
I mean, I appreciate science. We appreciate science, actual science, very much on this show and in our personal lives. It's one of the reasons that we like to go to all these museums. Do we have to believe in the facts that thousands of scientists have presented to us? That's something that I do like about it. It's like at a certain point, it's not a belief system anymore. It's just reality. You're just walking around going, yeah, this thing, because of science, we know that this little statue was made, at this time. And they'll be honest on their plaques. They're like, if they don't know for sure, they'll be like, BC 100 to 150. It's sometime around there. But we know that that is true. Like, we did the science to prove that. We don't have to walk around just believing something, without any basis in reality. And that is so relieving, honestly.
Exactly. The beauty about science is that the way it works is observations are made, guesses are created, or a hypothesis is proposed, and then it's tested out to see if that's true or not. And then from there, we can create these models to understand the world. So if you think about a map, think about our GPS system and think about maps.
Yeah.
Like a map is only a model of what we think the land looks like. But it's so refined at this point that it is an accurate enough model to go off to make decisions for it. And we have the exact same thing for weather models and climate models. And we have all these models that Is a map an exactly perfect one-to-one reflection of reality? No.
No.
It is not.
No.
It is not. But, like you're not going to see a groundhog hole on a map on Google Maps or something like that, right? Like it's not a perfect representation, but it's very good and it's good enough to make decisions based on.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much like kind of how science is. Like, were we there, 10 million years ago on Earth? No, we weren't there to observe the thing that happened. But like, we have very intelligent people who have thought a lot about this and have gathered a lot of evidence about this, and taken all together the snapshot that is science nowadays basically ensures that the world occurred and unfolded in this very particular way that is very simple to understand.
Yeah. And
we have a lot of confidence that it is the way that the world really is. And the naturalistic explanation is very, very compelling. It's the most compelling explanation for why things are the way that they are right now. And our lives are, we do well to kind of go with it. And then also be open to new data, new information coming out, and then to adjust our model of the world accordingly.
Exactly. But I love that science brings us together as humanity, because there are scientists in all cultures, all languages, who are all doing this research and who are all countering each other, checking on each other's data, bringing it together. That's what's so amazing about it. And that's another reason why it's trustworthy, because it's not just one tiny group of believers saying, no, we're pretty sure that this is what happened because we have faith. It's people from around the world all checking each other, all compiling their data. It's people of different religions and different ethnicities all deciding, no, like based on everything we have, most likely this is the best explanation we can come up with. And we worked very, very hard over many, many years to get to this conclusion. And I love that. You don't have to have faith in Google Maps because we have science. We have lots and lots of thousands of people that have worked to gather this data and present it to us. And so when I go on Google Maps, I can trust that, the map of Houston, Texas, before I've been there and seen it with my own eyes, is actually pretty close to what it looks like. And yeah, sometimes it's missing spots and it's not covering all the gopher holes, but it's still really incredible what humans can do when we all come together with our minds and we trust each other's data and we work through a problem together. It's incredible.
It's beautiful. So I used to have a particular experience with museums. Either if I was at a museum by myself or with family or whatever, I would just have to look at an exhibit and just kind of hand wave away any explanation that doesn't correspond to the story that I was told, growing up. And now I get to, instead of just uncritically hand waving everything away, I can be like, that's a surprising thing. This exhibit at the Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. says that the Galilean moon of Io is the most volcanic body in the solar system, more volcanic than Earth is.
Wow.
Like, how crazy is that? Or something maybe not even so much science-based, like more of a claim made at like the Museum of Natural History about humans, and how old humans are and how there are different species of humans. They don't have to hand wave away that, right?
Yeah.
Like now I have the ability to like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And like do some more Googling and just kind of try to find out some more about something that catches my eye. And probably most importantly, I can go to a museum such as the museum that we went to today, the Space Center in Houston. That's right.
Yeah.
And look at something like the Herculean effort that scientists and engineers undertook to put a man on the moon, and all of the missions that built up to that, and all of the design firms and government collaboration that happened to...
Just incredible how many people
build
whole lives and careers.
Oh, absolutely. And to like really be able to, just appreciate that and see that spirit of exploration as being really something worthwhile to pursue. And then to have respect for the people that put their lives on the line, and even some people who lost their lives in those missions or training for those missions.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a really beautiful thing to just kind of have that lens of a false reality kind of taken away from my, perception of the world, and to just appreciate the world for what it is. Very, 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 very inspiring.
I think for anyone that can just go and see it for what it is, which is an incredible human feat, and museums in general are just, it's incredible that we get to see these things and then we get to know these things. And I think about when I saw like the first picture we got from the moon of the Earth, it just reminded me how very modern and recent it is that we actually know what our Earth looks like. And that to me was so powerful. Like for most of humanity, we've had no idea that we were on a planet that looked blue, and like now it's just everybody knows what Earth looks like. But the only reason we know that is because of science. Before all of this work that we've all done to get to see ourselves back, it wasn't a normal thing for you to just think about the planets and think about the Earth and think about how beautiful this place is that we get to live, and the way that it's connected all of us as well as like Earthlings, And these things have led to Star Trek and Star Wars and all of these things that are like so important now to so many people, this fiction, these stories, but it really does bring humanity together as a group of beings that all share a place when we get to have this perspective of this is our planet and it's an amazing place that we get to live on, and it is so beautiful, especially compared to just how like desolate the moon is, how desolate space is in general. And it's a really powerful perspective to get to have. It's a real gift to actually get to learn and experience reality.
That's right. Go to museums, peeps. Highly recommended.
Yeah.
We love museums. Whatever you do, do not take a tour from any Jehovah's Witness, or especially that Oasis tour company.
No.
Calling them out by name. Have to do it. And be inspired by any museum. And I think it's so, especially for kids, I think it's so important to like be taken to a variety of museums.
Totally.
Because you never know what is going to catch your interest and like really just capture your attention and curiosity. Yeah.
And most museums also have things for kids. The Space Museum, the Space Center had some cool stuff for kids, and it's just really great how passionate a lot of these people that work at museums, these volunteers, are just about education and learning. And I also just want to throw it out there that most museums have a free day, and a lot of them also have a lot of discounts because people need to go to museums, and they really they need us to go there and support them. So there are lots of ways to do it. Oh, shout out to City Pass. It's this thing, we got one ticket each, and it got us into 5 attractions. So
City Pass.
They do that in a bunch of major cities. So there's lots of creative ways to get to the museums, and there's also a lot of little smaller museums too. Like if you have time and a place, sometimes I like to just look up museum and just kind of see like what's around. Like even in Houston, there's all these big ones, but there's also like 30 little tiny ones that I don't have time for. But how cool that people are putting these little things together to just share information, share something that they're passionate about with other humans. Humans are so cute. I love that we do this. Well, thanks for joining us, y'all, on this big old Texasode. It's been really fun to just, talk about this weird little side story here. And thank you, Danny, for sharing about the Met. And I sure hope we get to go back to that museum someday, because I'd like to spend a lot more time there. Sending y'all some Texas heat and sun and Texas-shaped waffles if you want it. We love y'all. See you next week.
Love y'all. Bye.